if you're listening, I want you to take out of this talk is that that's how success works. It's preparation meets opportunity. And so
Absolutely.
when your moment comes, I want you to be prepared. When that opportunity comes, I want you to feel like it's second nature. And one day when people look at you and think, you just got lucky, you're a success by accident, you're naturally talented, you're naturally charismatic in talking with people, when in reality, that whole time, you're just preparing for that moment. When you go out to meet people, you open up your reality through elevating your own identity. All right. To talk to someone, to connect with someone, that takes skills. That takes skills in conversing, in listening, and connecting. And with every conversation you have, your people skills compound every single time. And this is a journey of a million opportunities. You are literally one conversation away from a completely different life. So I really encourage you just to see that how this can open up the reality that you live in by just a single conversation.
Welcome to Quiet Voice, Fearless Mind, where we help introverts and aspiring leaders to reach their full potential. My name is Terrence Lee, aka the Introvert Leader, and I am super excited. I'm very excited. I've got a special guest here tonight that I'm talking to, and it's somebody that connected with on social media, in particular on Instagram a while back, and have just been, following this person. We've been connected, and it's interesting just watching their journey with what they do to help the introvert community and all of the amazing work they're involved in. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Nicole Jeanne to the podcast. Nicole, how are you doing tonight?
Thanks, Taryn. That's such a wonderful introduction. And I think I'm more excited for this interview with you. We met on Instagram, I don't know, I feel like a year or two ago. It was before your book came out. And I was really inspired by your content. I got your first chapter through your email. I was like, I can't wait for your book to come out. Your book came out. I hurried and I read through that thing in one day. I wrote a review on Amazon, and I love the work that you're doing for introverts, what you represent for them, and just giving them more empowerment in the world, and you're going to do great things. So I am super happy to be here and talk to your listeners and help them feel more empowered.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nicole. And, and likewise, right? I mean, the work that you've been doing, and that's a lot of what I want to talk about tonight, so navigating your social life as an introvert. So I'm going to be honest, I'm a little selfish with this episode because I need some help too. All right. I am a person that can get very comfortable in my circle. I can get very comfortable in my comfort zone sometimes. And I'll have my friends, right? Or I'll have my family and people that I know. But I also know that at times in my life, I do want to make new connections, right? I do want to expand my network, or I want to just, branch out a little bit. And I know there are some fellow introverts listening to this episode right now that might feel the same way. And so could you just talk a little bit about, what is it that you do? How do you help introverts to navigate their social life? And what do you do in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. I'm sure if you're feeling that way, there's at least 10 or 20 other people who feel that way, maybe even more, where they have a small circle, they feel really comfortable, and it's safe. It feels safe being in your comfort zone, but you kind of want to know what else is out there. You kind of want to expand your reality, expand your world, and that's what meeting new people does. So my work, I like to call myself as a retired wallflower, and I'm also a people skills coach. So, I grew up really shy as a kid. I felt awkward. I felt like I didn't fit in. I did not know how to talk to people, just like other kids in the playground at the jungle gym. It crippled me. I always wondered to myself, why is it so difficult for me to talk to other people and make friends? Why do I go mentally blank when engaging in small talk? Why do I overthink every single action I take, and it paralyzes you? Why do I feel like others are judging my flaws? Even if I know they're not true, I feel like other people won't see the good in me, but only see what I think is the bad. And it's an experience that a lot of us have as introverts. And so when I graduated high school, I decided to lean in. I decided to lean into what I'm not strong at. And that was
Hmm.
talking to people, having conversations, because I knew in the future, no matter what career I went into, I would need good people skills. And I wanted to learn this as soon as possible to take advantage of it for my life as soon as possible and let it compound and provide more opportunities in my life. And I knew that people skills was a vital skill in my future. So in college, I majored in communication. I have a bachelor in communication, so I've had formal training in public speaking, interpersonal communication, all types of theories, and it was scary. It was definitely something I wasn't comfortable for a good several years. And long story short, I eventually got my master's in nursing, and now I'm a nurse practitioner here in California. And I'm several years in as a nurse practitioner, like 5+ years, and I see dozens of patients every single day, like easily like 12, 16, 20 patients a day, all different ages, all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities. Some are even different languages where I have to utilize a translator. And I get to practice my conversational skills every single day, several
Mm.
times a day. And I've practiced it so much that now I get patients asking to see me, the nurse practitioner, instead of the doctor. And to me, that is the biggest form of flattery. And, people, if you're listening, you may think that, Nicole, you're lucky. Nicole, you're a success by accident. But the truth is, I have been preparing for this moment for years,
Mm.
practicing having a conversation, failing, figuring out what I need to do different, testing out different tactics, different strategies. And that's something I want, if you're listening, I want you to take out of this talk is that that's how success works. It's preparation meets opportunity. And so
Absolutely.
when your moment comes, yeah, when your moment comes, I want you to be prepared. When that opportunity comes, I want you to feel like it's second nature. And one day when people look at you and think, you just got lucky, you're a success by accident, you're naturally talented, you're naturally charismatic in talking with people, when in reality, you know that that whole time you're just preparing for that moment.
Wow. I mean, we could just drop the mic right there. I mean, man, you said a lot, Nicole. So I wanna go back to something you said. It really piqued my interest. So you made a pivot. You felt like you didn't know how to talk to people. You felt like you didn't know how to communicate. And it sounds like there was some pivot that happened and you went in a totally different direction. You said, hey, I'm going to major in communications. I'm going to get training on public speaking. Like, what was that pivot point? Like, what sparked that? Because it had to be something. Was it a thought? Was it a particular moment? Was it an experience? Or was it just a decision you made in your head? You just said, "Hey, I want to change," or what was the spark for that?
That's a great question. Not a lot of people would have made that pivot. Not a lot of people would have leaned in to something that feels uncomfortable, that feels scary, that feels like it's their weakness, that they can't get better. That's just internally who they are and their personality. I really have to attribute this to my mom. You know, for me in my childhood, my mom has really inspired me to turn every experience you have into an opportunity into a positive opportunity, into an opportunity to build your confidence by just 1%. I remember this is a kind of a random story, but I think I was like 8 or 9 years old. My mom and I were out at the mall and we were in the public restroom washing our hands after we used the restroom. And we turn around to dry your hands on the paper towel. And it was a paper towel dispenser where you push the lever. And every time the paper towel would, come out every time you push the lever. And my mom looked at that and told me, oh, I hate these paper towel dispensers because every time when you just wash your hands, you have to press the dirty lever to dispense the paper towel. So she did that. She dispensed the paper towel, dried her hands, and then she used the paper towel that she just dried her hands with, and she pushed the lever a few more times to let the more paper towel hang out. And she looked at me as a little girl and she said, I always leave some paper towel hanging out for the next person so they don't have to touch the dirty handle when they dispense the paper towel after washing their hands. And it's the most minute, smallest moment that my mom could have given me, but that impacted me. It taught me you can turn any experience you have, if it's a negative experience, you have the power to turn it into a positive experience. It's just the way
Mm,
you think. And so I don't think
mm,
my mom even knew that she had that much impact on me, but that completely changed how I see experiences. If I don't feel positive and I don't feel strong in an experience, I turn that into an opportunity. How can I get better? How can I do that? And that's why people are wired differently. We all have different experiences, different childhoods, um, even just our parents. We inherit lessons from our parents on how they react to their experiences. And that's why people are wired differently. And a lot of people didn't get that wiring that I have. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm not saying other people are worse off, but that's how we learn from each other. We learn, what is your perspective? What experience do you have that I don't have, that I can take from you and apply the principles in the context of my life to get to the goal or the results I have. And that's the beauty of these interviews, these talks, coaching, is getting those perspectives and those lessons that you didn't have in your childhood wiring.
mm. Isn't it amazing that something that seems as simple as a paper towel and an experience like that when you were younger has shaped your life?
Yeah, it's
I just
amazing.
I find that fascinating. I mean, when you think about, and I can think of just random things from my life as well, from my childhood, like various conversations with my dad that he would just say certain things, or like my grandfather, or just various people, and they might say or do something, and it literally impacted me for the rest of my life. And in those moments you don't think about it, right? But it's just I find that really interesting. That paper towel story is great, because I know there's somebody listening right now that has probably had something in their life that impacted them in a way, whether positive or negative, and that's why it's so important when things happen that we truly assess how it impacts us, so I really appreciate you sharing that. That's powerful. So Nicole, I just got to ask you, I mean, I'm listening to you talk, and you are extremely articulate. You are, just your communication, I mean, clearly you are good at what you do. And there might be somebody listening to this right now, and they might say to themselves, you know what, I can't sound like her. I mean, man, she is a professional. She clearly knows knows what she's doing. I'm just trying to figure out how to socialize with people, how to meet somebody, right? Or even how to express myself in a certain way. And you gave a lot of background about how you got to this point, right? And you talked about practice and the training you've gone through and everything like that. I guess, what are some tips you would have for someone that's listening to this, that just wants to meet new people, or they're trying to learn how to express themselves better, or how to network, or anything like that? What are some tips that you could share?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let's address why this is an issue in the first place. For a lot of us introverts, we feel comfortable staying at home. We feel comfortable. It feels safe. It feels comfortable. A lot of times when we go out, we feel overwhelmed, overstimulated. Maybe we worry other people will judge us. Other people will think we're boring, we're stupid, we're weird. And, maybe for you listening, maybe that's happened to you in the past. And it's really painful reliving that. And so, of course, why wouldn't we avoid it if we could avoid it? And every day, there's a little voice in our head telling us, if I don't make a good impression, then there is something inherently wrong with me. And the truth is, if you feel that way, I want you to remember this. If you did experience that, that is a moment in your life, but that moment is not your life.
Mm,
That moment doesn't define your life. That moment is not the single moment in your life that will predict the entire trajectory of your life. And, you know, when you go out, I want you to change your perspective. When you go out to meet people, don't go out with the intention to impress people. Go out with the intention to connect with other people,
yes, yes.
right? And when you go out to meet people, remember that you're opening up your reality. You have absolute control over the reality you live in. And when you open yourself up to meeting different people who've lived different lives, who've had different experience from you, who has new knowledge for you to absorb and learn and apply in your life, but mostly when you go out to meet people, you open up your reality through elevating your own identity. All right. To talk to someone, to connect with someone, that takes skills. That takes skills in conversing, in listening, and connecting. And with every conversation you have, your people skills compound every single time. And this is a journey of a million opportunities. You are literally one conversation away from a completely different life. So I really encourage you just to see that how this can open up the reality that you live in by just a single conversation.
Yes, yes. What are some opportunities that you've seen happen in your life as a result of maybe having a conversation that you didn't want to have? I think that's the question I'm trying to ask, because I'm just thinking about times in my life where I just felt like staying at home. I mean, honestly, like my social battery was kind of tapped. Maybe I'd had a long week at work and I said, hey, I'm going to go home, turn on some Netflix and, or I'm going to watch a game. And instead of doing that, I made the choice to go to some networking event, or I went out with, some coworkers, and maybe an event, something happened where I met someone or I had a conversation and it turned out to be good for my career. I've actually had that happen. And I made the choice to go, and it was a good choice to go. Have you ever had that happen where, you might not have initially wanted to talk or express yourself with somebody, but you did it and you were happy that you did it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love that you brought up your experience that, hey, I actually made more connections. It helped me with my career, my work. And again, you just showed it expanded your reality, the reality that you live in. Um, I think the number one reason, well, okay, if you're an introvert, yes, your social energy is like it's your lifeblood, right?
Yep.
And if you need to stay home to recharge your batteries, then do that. Block out the time in your calendar to recharge your energy, whether you want to, for me, I'm on the couch, I'm watching a movie on streaming, I've got my ice cream and my blanket around my shoulders. That's me. That's my comfort zone. All right.
Yep.
And it's impossible to not feel nervous about meeting people. It's anyone new is unfamiliar, and unfamiliar is scary to your brain, right?
Yep.
Your palms, your armpits get sweaty, your breathing picks up, your voice is shaking. And these are all natural biological reactions in your fight or flight response. It's your brain keeping you safe. It's a human instinct, and that's how the brain works. No one has changed how the brain functions for a millennium, and no one will for another millennium. So I can't change my reaction of meeting new people, of feeling nervous meeting new people. But what I can change is my response to that nervousness. All right.
Mm.
And that's the secret. If you take away anything from this talk, if you're listening, I want you to remember that's a secret to when you're meeting new people. You can change how you respond to your self doubt. And self doubt, I mean, what is self doubt? Self doubt is rooted in two things: fear and indecision, right? And so it's fear of the unknown, fear of the unfamiliar. And that fear, what it does to us is it's paralyzing. It keeps us from making a decision. It causes indecision. And indecision is the worst place that you can be because it literally keeps you stuck. And so for me, I feel nervous talking to people. My armpits were sweating before logging on to the video, Terrence. But I changed how I responded about going on this talk, about when I'm meeting new people, about when I'm at work as a nurse practitioner, I'm about to knock on that exam door and enter and see a brand new patient when I've already seen 15 other patients that day. I think to myself, I get to connect with another human being. I get to learn from a new perspective, or I get to improve my people skills. That small shift is monumental. Think of it as this analogy. Say, like you're driving a car or riding a motorcycle on a straight path, on a straight road. if you veer off by just 1%, just that little 1% in about a mile, you are far off the road. That's that small mindset shift that will guide your life into a completely new reality.
Introverts are too quiet and too weak to lead. Have you ever heard this before? Well, my name is Terrence, and for years as an introvert, I didn't think I had what it took to be a leader. What I learned was being an introvert is my superpower. If you want to learn how to have success as an introvert, then go to quietvoicefearlessleader.com to learn more. Wow. I mean, you said I had a question, and now you made me think of a different question. Now you got my mind really racing. You said so much there. Something that really stuck with me. You talked about how before you logged on for this, you felt some nervousness. And what's interesting is that nobody listening to this right now, I'm sure, is going to think that you sounded nervous in this interview because you are killing it. And the reason I say that is sometimes, on my introvert leader platform, when I'm doing videos or I'll do lives and things like that, I've had some people message me and they'll say, "Are you really an introvert? Because, how do you talk like that? Or how do you do lives? Or how do you do these things?" And what I tell people is I'm 100% an introvert, but I make a choice that what I want to feed to the world and the fact that I want to help people is bigger than my nervousness. And so I make the choice to get over that nervousness, but it doesn't mean I don't get nervous. So I just thought that was so cool of you to admit that although, you're a communications major, you studied public speaking, you talk to patients, you do all of these things, you have these conversations, and you help people with people skills, you're vulnerable enough to admit that you still get nervous sometimes, but you just gave people tips for how to, it's not that you don't get nervous, but you make the choice to move forward anyway. And I just think that was so awesome how you pointed that out.
Thank you. And I'm glad that we both resonate with that you still get that nervousness despite you've been on, I don't know, over 50 podcast interviews, I feel like, with your work. I always see you interviewing so much, and I'm like, wow, Terrence is so great at interviewing. I want to be like him when I grow up. And so it's interesting. You see on the outside, you see how people are on the interview, talking about things, and they seem so articulate. They seem so charismatic. They seem so just so smooth and put together. When in reality, we pull back the curtain. We're nervous. My armpits are sweating. Yeah,
Absolutely.
my voice was shaking when I logged on. I was nervous as heck. Of course, absolutely. And I think that really humanizes the people. Like even I don't know, celebrities you see, Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, they're nervous. I'm sure they're nervous. But
Yep.
how they respond to their nervous and self-doubt is what you see in front of the camera.
Yes, absolutely. Gosh, that is so key. So I think that is a huge takeaway for this episode. If you're listening to this, you can choose how to respond. I mean, listen to the way Nicole just broke that down. I mean, that is so key. You can make that choice. And, the fear is just an illusion, so if you have any self-doubt or if you feel like you can't communicate or can't meet new people, just really key into what Nicole said there. I think that is just so key. So Nicole, something else I wanted to ask you about. A lot of people I hear associate introversion with social anxiety, right? There are a lot of people that they hear the term social anxiety or they think about someone that's socially anxious and they assume that that's introverts, right? I mean, I see reels about this. I see videos, all kind of things. And you see the introvert and they're this person that walks into the party and they just want to kind of go over in the corner and stick to themselves because they're like afraid to talk to people, things like that. Can you just clear up for people that might be listening the difference between introversion and what somebody would deem as social anxiety?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's super common. It's a very common misunderstanding about introverts, which is
Yeah.
very sad that that's the narrative in mainstream media or in societies, that introverts are anxious. They don't want to talk to people. They just want to stay home all the time, which is completely the opposite. We both know. Introversion is more about your social energy.
Yes.
Introverts need time to recharge their social batteries because their social energy gets depleted quicker than extroverts who thrive on socialization. Their social energy is charged, it's fulfilled by social interactions. And so with introverts, it's really about you do want to see and talk to people, you do want to meet up with people, but it's on your terms, on your time. With social anxiety, it's more related to feeling the fear around social situations. When you have social anxiety, recharging your social batteries in isolation, it may be like a quick band-aid, but it doesn't really resolve that anxious feeling that you have inside
Yeah.
of you. And in fact, extroverts can have social anxiety as well. My dad is a 100% extrovert. My dad is a complete extrovert. He loves talking to people. He could probably talk to a brick wall. I mean, he has that tangible energy and excitement that you can just feel and you could see coming off of him when he expresses himself. But he'll confide to me after talking to someone new. Do you think that went well? Do you think
Hmm.
they like me? Did,
Right.
did I say anything offensive? And he gets anxious because he talks so much in the process that he doesn't have time to capture these moments and to really look and see these things. And so it's totally possible to have social anxiety, whether you're introvert or extrovert. But no matter your personality, you have a superpower. If you're an introvert, you have the ability to listen patiently as others talk. If
Yes.
you're socially anxious, you have an enormous amount of love inside of you because you care so much about other people. And in both personality types, your downfall might be not knowing how to confidently articulate yourself well. And the truth is, you can absolutely tap into that superpower and counteract your downfall by replacing your instincts with learned skills. You can override your natural human instinct or tendencies by taking extreme ownership over your ability to grow into the person you want to be. And that's with refining your people skills.
I think sometimes, whether it's, through media, on videos, a lot of things get tied to introversion that just aren't true, and it's unfortunate. And so if you're listening to this and you feel like because you're an introvert, you can't meet people or you don't have the ability to have people skills or to network, that's really just not true, right? Nicole totally broke that down, and it's really about just making up your mind to do it, right? So that's awesome. I guess, Nicole, what inspired you to get into this work? I think that this work is so important, and what you do is so important. What is your inspiration for what you do? And for anyone that's listening to this, you know, just tell them something that really inspires you about doing your people skills work.
Yeah. So my inspiration for my work as a people skills coach is probably the most inspirational person in my life, and that's my mom. My mom passed away 5 years ago. She passed away 5 years ago, and it was very sudden. It was unexpected, and she passed away. It's always hard to say this, but I say it every time so that I become stronger because of this. My mom passed away when I was in my late 20s, and I'm sad to say this. I was young and dumb. I was prioritizing my friends, my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, and my social life. And I just wasn't prioritizing keeping in touch with my mom that much, as much as I wish I had. And after she passed away, it really broke my heart that I couldn't even remember the last conversation I had with her.
Mm.
And, in the 5 years since then, I've gotten married without my mom, and I've became a mom without my mom. And it's been the most heartbreaking thing I've ever had to go through in my life. And these years have taught me that the relationships you have in your life are the most important things you
Mm.
will ever have in your life. I mean, when you pass away, what's on your tombstone? It's not your bank account
Mm.
amount. It's not the balance in your bank account. It's not how much money you made or what you did for a living. It says loving mother, loving father, sister, brother, friend. People remember you for how you made them feel. And so
Mm,
the relationships you have is the biggest asset you will ever have in your life. And so I never want to take the relationships I have in my life for granted. And so that's in a way how, just like what I said in the beginning of this talk, how I've turned this very, very painful, heartbreaking experience into, I've let it guide the trajectory of my life into a more fulfilling way. And that is through helping others refine their people skills, to connect with others and build meaningful relationships as adults. Because as adults, it's really hard to make friends, right? It's actually
mhm. Yeah,
really, really hard.
yeah.
It's sometimes it's painful. You know, when you move to a new town, a new city, you start a new job. If you're working remotely, it's really hard to like motivate yourself to like get dressed, do your hair, step outside, go outside after work and meet people. It's really hard meeting people once you're done with school. And just taking the pain I have from losing my mom and not having had so many conversations or really nurture that relationship to what I wish I had. I want to help others build those meaningful relationships, create the most meaningful life they can. And the way to start that is by being able to articulate yourself well in conversations, because I want having a conversation the last thing you worry about in your life.
Mm, wow. Wow. I thank you, Nicole, for sharing that. Um, I thank you for being so open to share that. And I know that that's really going to resonate with somebody that's listening to this because, one thing about life is just moments, right? Like sometimes we don't realize the moments that we have, and we don't know when we'll have the next moments with somebody. Um, and so I know someone is listening and they've probably been through something similar. And so I just applaud you, Nicole. And I'd like to dedicate this episode to your mom because I know that she would be extremely proud of the work that you're doing. And I can tell you're extremely passionate about it. And so I thank you for sharing that. And I just thank you for the work that you do. Like I said, I think it is amazing. I think your vulnerability is just so refreshing in an age of social media, in an age of people that have it all together, quote unquote, right? And everybody has no flaws, and they just kind of get through life, and everybody is Instagram famous, and me and you have shared some things kind of offline of some struggles we've had with various services, different things we've tried to do, right? And the fact that you're able to be so vulnerable and so open. I truly appreciate that about you.
Oh,
And
Terrence, you're gonna make me cry. Oh my goodness.
no, I mean, I think it's awesome. It's powerful, like the conversations like the one that we're having, because I know that someone out there has probably been holding certain things in, or they've probably felt like they're not meeting some standard, or they're not getting to where they're trying to go. And I would just encourage you, listen back to this episode, listen to Nicole's vulnerability, the fact that she's encouraging you to create those relationships, to be open, to be vulnerable. There's nothing wrong with it. None of us are perfect. We're not, and that's okay. So I just Nicole, salute you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Terrence. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Wow, man, that got deep. You're gonna get me emotional over here talking about some stuff. Oh man, I really, I appreciate you, Nicole, and I appreciate, this time that we've had. One last question I have for you before we get off here. Can you tell me, who is Nicole becoming? When you think about your life, when you think about where you've come from, you think about where you are now, and the services that you just freely want to help people with. And it comes from such a genuine place. Just who is Nicole becoming?
The first thing that comes to my mind is someone unrecognizable.
Mm,
5 years ago, if you asked me, 5 years ago, I would never have thought I would be a nurse practitioner. And love interacting with dozens of patients every day and actually walk away each day from work feeling fulfilled. 10 years ago, I never thought I would be teaching and coaching people on people skills. 20 years ago, I never thought I'd be comfortable approaching someone and starting a conversation out of thin air. And that's the beauty of constantly refining your people skills, is that you become unrecognizable to others and even to yourself. The things you're doing are unrecognizable. The things you accomplish are unrecognizable. And that's what I want all of you listeners, if there's something that you want, a goal, a result that you've never had before, it's going to require you to elevate your identity and to be unrecognizable and do things that you haven't done before.
Absolutely. I can't think of a better way to end the episode than that. I mean, that is so key. Become unrecognizable. That is awesome. I think that's the quote for the episode. Well, hey, Nicole, this has been amazing. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I mean, we could probably talk for hours about this. This has been great. Before we get off, why don't you tell people how they can connect with you? Tell people about, some of what you do, how they can just get in touch with you and some of your services and things that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And this has been such a pleasure talking to you, Terrence. I mean, yes, I could go on for hours talking to you. There's so much that we resonate together, and I would love to just talk for hours to your listeners. If I could help them, if I helped one person feel better today about their life and themselves, then my job is done. Then I have accomplished what I've come here to do. You could see me on social media. I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on podcasts as well, all under the same handle. It's Nicole Jeanne, and I'm sure Terrence would put the information in the show notes below. I have a couple resources for you. So I have my free guide. It's a 22-page free PDF I need just for you. It's called the Get More Friends Blueprint. And it's literally the 6-step process I teach my paid clients, literally how to articulate yourself well, how to feel at ease in conversations, make connections, and get more friends. And my one-on-one coaching service is called Socially Awkward Bootcamp. And I highly encourage, if you're interested in learning more about the work I do, definitely check out the link below that Terrence is going to put out. I want you to picture this. It's a Friday evening. Maybe you got off work, it's happy hour time, and you pull your car up to the sidewalk and you step out. For my ladies, if you're wearing high heels, that first step you take out of the car, it's a little wobbly with that heel, right? You've been sitting in the car all night, all evening, and you look forward and you see the restaurant that you're going to. There's twinkling lights. You see all the silhouettes of people inside mingling. Now, normally you'd be nervous, seeing all the people there, all the people that are going to be talking to, but instead you feel exhilarated. Instead, you feel excited to meet and to connect with another human being. And that's what I want for you. And that's what Socially Awkward Bootcamp can do for you. Socially Awkward Bootcamp will provide you with the techniques, the skills, the mechanics, the scripts, so you know what to say when you're striking a conversation with another person. What that means for you is that carrying a conversation will be as easy and second nature as breathing. But the real value for you is that you can start connecting with other people and find your social circle that you can count on. And investing your time and energy in the right people and the right relationships is what you want, right? So I highly recommend check out my information. I hope it helps you. I hope this talk helped you today. And like I said, if this helped like one person, my job is done.
So everybody that's listening to this, be looking for that. And definitely sign up. I've been following Nicole for a while. She does amazing work in this area. And so definitely, if anybody would like to get involved in that, we'll have all the information in the show notes for that. So listen, Nicole, this has been awesome. Again, really just appreciate your time, you being gracious with your time, your vulnerability. And I truly appreciate you being on.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor and a true pleasure. I'm so happy to talk to you, Terrence.
Likewise, absolutely. Well, hey, it's been amazing for everyone that's listening. I appreciate you joining the episode with Nicole Jeanne, and we will talk to you next time. Peace.